the superintendent, Adam Constance from PK Law, Mr. Hushin from Human Resources, and Ms. Gail Manley, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, will be joining us in closed session. The purpose of this evening, Article 3-305B1, the topic is applicants for new hires, resignations, volunteers, transfers, extra pay, extra duty, and any other personnel matters. The reason that this is a closed session topic is public discussion of applicants and employee names and personal information could discourage people from working for the board and contain sensitive personal and biographical information. Personnel information is protected from disclosure under the MPIA. 3-305B9, to discuss ongoing negotiations with KCPS bargaining units. The reason that this is a closed session topic is to maintain the integrity of the collective bargaining process. And also 3-305B7, to consult with legal counsel on appeal process under 4-205 of educational article. The purpose or the reason why this is also closed is substance of discussion is protected by the attorney-client privilege. In order to go into closed session, I need a motion to move into closed session.
I motion that we go into closed session for the reasons stated.
Ms. McGee has the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Sullivan has the second. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Thank you, everyone. We will be back into open session at 6:30. The open session for the Kent County Public Schools Board of Education meeting. The date is May 8th, 2023, and we are coming back into open session at 6:30 p.m. The first item on the agenda in 3A is to report on closed session. The Kent County Public Schools Board of Education members, these members, Dr. Couch, the superintendent, Mr. Hushin, Director of Human Resource, Adam Constance from PK Law, and Ms. Gail Manley, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, met in closed session to discuss Article 3-305B1. The topic was applicants for new hires, resignations, volunteer transfers, extra pay, extra duty, and any other personnel matters. The reason for a closed session discussion of topic is that public discussion of applicants and employee names and personal information could discourage people from working for the board and contain sensitive personal and biographical information. Personnel information is protected from disclosure under the MPIA. 3-305B7, to consult with legal counsel on the appeal process under 4-205 of the education article. The reason for closed session was the substance of the discussion is protected by the attorney-client privilege. And then also 3-305B9, the topic was a discussion of ongoing negotiations with KCPS bargaining units. The reason for closed session discussion of the topic was to maintain the integrity of the collective bargaining process. Personnel will be voted upon after the Golden Anchor Award tonight. And we'll move into the next item, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Wallace, can you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the April 5, 2003 open session meeting. The administration is recommending approval of these minutes. Do we have a motion to do so?
I move that we approve the minutes of the open session. I move that we approve the minutes of the open session of the April 5th, 2023 Board of Education meeting.
Ms. McGee has the motion. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
We have a second by Mr. Rhodes. With a motion and a second, is there any additional comments, conversation? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Mr. Wallace?
I vote to approve the April 5th minutes.
The motion passes as approved. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public participation. Ms. Gale, do we have? Okay. We do, just a reminder, we do have a second portion of the evening later in the agenda for public participation if anyone feels inclined. That is your opportunity to come up later. Okay, we'll move into superintendent's report. Dr. Couch.
I only have 4 things that I needed to report to you this evening. The first is dual sporting options. The Bayside Conference approved dual sporting options for students beginning in FY24. This means that athletes will be allowed to play 2 sports during the same season, provided that the student designates one sport as the primary option and a second sport as a secondary option. Student athletes will need to obtain a request form from the athletic director and follow the guidelines as established by the Bayside Conference. We met, Mr. Taylor, Ms. Hemstetter and I met to discuss and come up with a participation contract. So this will be pushed out to all of the students, and we'll also put it on our website. And it essentially says, students, it outlines which are the primary options and the secondary options. For instance, in fall, the primary options would be cross-country, field hockey, football, golf, soccer, boys soccer, girls soccer, volleyball, unified tennis, and fall cheer. And then the secondary options, even though they could be a primary option, secondary option could be cross-country, golf, unified tennis, fall cheer, football, as far as being a kicker and a punter. And the reason why these options were developed is because the list is designed to prevent overuse and injuries. So you want to make sure that if a student is playing football, that obviously it couldn't be a secondary option. They would have to pick another sport that's not going to have increased wear and tear on their on their bodies, and also contests, cancellations, and those types of things. So I think it's just important to note that it was a almost unanimous decision with regard to the Bayside Conference, but it did pass, and so we are obligated to offer this option to our students.
Am I correct that Kent voted against it?
Yes.
Okay.
FY23 Maryland Green Schools. This year, Galena Elementary School achieved Maryland Green School status, and Kent County High School has successfully recertified as a Maryland Green School. These schools are part of a national and international community of sustainable green schools. Our students are becoming better stewards of our Earth's resources and developing a better understanding of their own local environment. I want to congratulate Principal Yoder and Principal Hemstetter and their staff for participating in the Maryland Green Schools Initiative. I also would like to recognize Mr. Hushin and the Human Resources staff for organizing a local job fair that was scheduled a few weeks ago, and it was designed to recruit new teachers to Kent County Public Schools. 30 applicants were interviewed by our administrative staff who attended the job fair. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Rhodes and Mr. Gatz for showing up and saying something to our staff. So that was nice. I also would like to announce the student member of the board. There was an election process that happened with the Kent County High School student body. There were, we actually had 5 students that indicated their interest in becoming a SMOB. They had their elections, and the successful candidate is Madison Messick, who was successfully elected by the Kent County High School student body as the FY24 student member of the board. We will recognize Mr. Braden Wallace at the May 22nd quarterly board meeting for his service to the Kent County Board of Ed as well. I did want to note to you, Mr. Wallace, that I did have a chance to talk with Delegate Jacobs, and sometime this month, they're supposed to have a signing of House Bill 402 and Senate Bill 402, and we would like for you to stand in and be present and have your picture taken when they sign the bill. So as soon as I have a date, I'll let you know, and we'll write you an excuse from school.
Okay, thank you. I'd love to do that. And also, can we give Madison a little standing ovation since she's in the crowd? Congratulations, Madison. I can't wait to see what you do.
All right. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Couch. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the ratification of the 2023-2024 KCTA negotiated agreement. Mr. Hushin.
Thank you, President Getz, school board members, Dr. Couch. Tonight before you, I have an action item to bring forth the 2023-2024 Kent County Teachers Association negotiated agreement for your final approval. Representatives of the KCTA team have agreed on a 1-year negotiated agreement for the 23-24 school year, and this agreement starts with a 1-step salary increase on the existing salary scale on July 1, 2023, and a 4.25% COLA.
Okay, the administration is recommending the approval of this 2023-2024 agreement between the Kent County Teachers Association, known as KCTA, and the Kent County Board of Education. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ms. Sullivan has the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Ms. Dorsey. Any further comments, questions?
Just a question. All our contracts will be contingent on us having the money. Is that correct?
Yes.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Hushin.
And before we move on, President Getz, if I could just call up KCTA President Cheryl Bachman, as well as yourself and Dr. Couch, so we can sign our 23-24 negotiated agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Bachman. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Standing Ovation Award. Mr. Hushin?
Thank you, President Getz, school board members, Dr. Couch. The purpose of this item is to present the Standing Ovation Award, which is given to a special community member or a group of individuals who go above and beyond for our school system. To join me in honoring this group, I am going to call up Rock Hall Elementary School Principal, Mrs. Jillian Spiro.
So I'm going to read words from Ms. Vosberg, who has helped coordinate our tutoring program at Rock Hall Elementary School, and then I just have a couple of words myself. The Kent Learning Center volunteers have been an integral part of our after-school math program for the past couple of years. The majority of these volunteers provide students in grades 1 and 2, and this year we've extended that to some of our older grades with one-on-one after-school tutoring in mathematics. This program began last January 2022. They met with their assigned tutors 2 days a week for 1 hour. They record skills that they work on. They monitor student progression through grade level standards. They've been trained in new math strategies and have implemented their math instruction. These strategies include developing number sense, a variety of ways to solve word problems, and incorporating games to learn fact fluency. Their compassion is demonstrated each session. This is shown by the increased proficiency in math scores as well as the willingness by students to attend. The enrollment has increased and students and parents are excited. They are supportive and appreciative of the extra time provided to master math. Each child has developed a caring relationship with their one-on-one tutor. The school has received many compliments on the after-school program by parents, Rock Hall staff, and the community volunteers. Marietta Reedy, Ed Leonard, and Program Director Martha Bliss, Phil Cacchini, I apologize, Becky Glenn, Cindy Hayes, Lee Hunley, Carol Kendall, Erlene Lithicum, Joy Mayfield, Joe Miller, Linda Morgan, Mary Alice Munson, Patty Nelson, Janine Nilsson, Laura Polacek, I apologize, I'm sorry, Les Scanlon, Shirley Spagnola, Don Spagnola, Kathy Staples, Becky Taylor, Bill Trainer, and Nancy Walls. I also just want to extend just some observations. We have had increased participation in our math program. Also, the relationships that have been built with their tutors has been one thing that has been really special to watch. I was in a classroom after school one day and watched a little girl bring over her tutor to show her reading words. It was charted on the wall how many words she had read that year. Or that month, and she wanted to share with her tutor, and they celebrated together, and the relationships that have been built are really special, and our students really benefit from the generous time that our tutors are able to give. At one point, we had up to 32 tutors, who at first were reluctant to tutor math, but Ms. Vosberg said, I will train you, you will be experts, and now they are. And so we are really fortunate that Rock Hall Elementary School students benefit from such a thriving community of volunteers who dedicate their time. So I would like to personally also say thank you, because when you walk in our doors with your badges, their faces light up. And hopefully this is a continued partnership, because it has really been valuable for our community and our students.
So before we bring all of you up, on behalf of us, thank you for everything that you do, and I would like everyone to join us in a round of applause in honoring you. we are going to have you all come up where we're going to hand out your certificate and take a large group photo. So please come on down.
While they're coming up, I would just like to say a couple words. I would just like to note that we don't give this award very lightly. I think we've only given this award 3 times since I've been superintendent, so it's a very special award, and it's reserved for those that deserve the highest recognition. Because they just can't do it.
Just don't take it big. I tried. She's going to bed.
Yes.
Stop and turn your
We're going to kind of do like a little semicircle.
Keep going. Okay.
Would you like to come down?
I will.
There's a lean on the floor of here. Nobody's speaking English. She used to be the assistant superintendent of curriculum. That's a crew.
All right, everybody looking ready? All right, big smiles, 1, 2, 3.
I'll give it a few seconds.
Yep, that's fine.
You okay with a few minutes? Let them clear out.
Pardon? Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Golden Anchor Award. Mr. Hushin, I see you're still at the podium.
Yes, I am, President Getz, thank you. Tonight, I stand here to announce our Golden Anchor for the month of May. As a reminder, the Golden Anchor Award can be presented to any employee or group of employees that exemplify the mission and vision of our school system. Parents, staff members, and students may nominate any KCPS employee for this award. This evening, we are honoring 2 of our staff, and to announce those award winners, I call Principal Brenda Rhodes from Henry Highland Garnett Elementary School.
Good evening. Both Laura Marone and Christy McElhenney worked collaboratively this school year to achieve MSDE accreditation for H.H. Garnett Elementary School. This is not only a requirement for the blueprint, but also demonstrates that HHGS is following the best practices for program policies, procedures, and family and community engagement. The accreditation team began meeting in September to work on an improvement plan, as well as collecting required documentation and organizing classrooms. On March 21st, a validator from MSDE came to Garnett and observed in both Laura and Christy's classrooms, looking for specific indicators. Following the observation and reviewing the documentation that was submitted online, the Maryland Accreditation Decision Committee has fully accredited HHGS until April 2026. Thank you, Laura and Christy, for all of your hard work with the accreditation process and all that you do for our students at Garnett Elementary School. They thought they had a presentation, so they're actually probably relieved.
Thank you.
All right, ready, look at me. 1, 2, 3.
Great job.
Congratulations. Okay, the next item on the agenda is personnel actions. Mr. Hushin?
All right, last one for a while from me, I think. Each month, the board receives a report of stated personnel actions. Those actions are then discussed in closed session, and then a vote is held here during open session. Excuse me. The administration seeks approval of the stated personnel actions that were discussed during closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Hushin. As he just stated, the administration is recommending approval of these stated personnel actions. Do we have a motion to approve?
I recommend that we approve the stated personnel actions.
Ms. McGee has the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Rhodes. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Project Lead the Way presentation.
Good evening, President Getz, board members, Dr. Couch. We are excited to have our senior Project Lead the Way students tonight present their senior projects. And each year, so if you're not aware, this particular CTE program has 5 courses for the students to be considered completers. Mr. King, we're going to test my memory here. Introduction to Engineering, Principles of Engineering, Digital Electronics, Civil Engineering and Architecture, and then finally, Engineering Design and Development, which is their capstone. So, Mr. King has been the teacher for this, the lead teacher for this program for several years, and I just want to congratulate him again, just every year bringing to us quality presentations, and I know it's more about the process, but every year I really look forward to seeing the creativity these students bring to us. So, Mr. King, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having us here. We haven't been here in about 3 years. If you don't remember, it happened. This is the freshman group that went out on COVID, so they've had senioritis for a little more than 3 years now. So they're coming in, and they've had a mixture of classes all the way through of online and everything. So I was been very impressed with how they've done this year and the projects that they've had. I think we have 7 groups, and we're supposed to do 20 minutes per group, I think, so we're here for a little over 2 hours, so that's very exciting. No, we're going to get it all under 20 minutes, and I'm going to give you the Brett King guarantee, it'll be under 20 minutes, and if not, we'll issue full refunds. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you the process of one, and then the rest of the groups are kind of going to show you kind of their problem and the final solution. So you only have to see the process one time, but you'll see all the groups, and they'll kind of introduce themselves as we go. All right, so our first group here, and they will introduce themselves, is the umbrella.
Okay, so there are 3 of us. Matthew Price couldn't make it today because he's sick. And I'm Angel Longs, the guy in the middle, and I'll be attending UMD, majoring in civil engineering. I'm Luis Gonzalez, attending Chesapeake College. Alright. So our problem was with the instability of beach umbrellas, like when you secure them into the sand. So anybody that's been to the beach knows that they can like easily fly away or topple over. So that was the problem that we wanted to solve. And according to the US CPSC, 3,000 people are injured each year in the US. So this is definitely a wacky problem.
So this is our design brief. The criteria was unique design, fix a problem, affordable to its market, constraints done by today, minimal planetary investment.
Alright, so first thing we did when we decided that we wanted to tackle the problem is that we researched common solutions or common anchors that are already on the market, and we took some observations of them. We noted that usually the common one is fouls into the ground, but it can require significant force and leave burns on your hand. And as seen in the top right, it can also damage the umbrella pole.
So we started brainstorming solutions. Here are some sketches that we all made. And we try to figure out which one we want to pick. So we went with that one. That's like a combination of all of them.
So in this like final solution that we decided to choose, we have bolts that connect 2 paddles to the main anchor, and that will be like paddles that can sit beneath the weight of the sand, so that way, because this is going to be underneath sand, so that way it just makes it harder for it to be blown away by wind.
So then my job was to like 3D model the pieces. And the first one is like a screw that will go inside this little hole right here. So then we can insert the bolt that we also made, and then we made the paddles. And then this is all put in all together.
And this is just an estimate of our cost. We wanted it to be somewhat affordable to its market, so we ended up estimating at around $6.10, and we think that's a fair price because other umbrellas or other beach umbrella anchors cost from like $3 to $20.
Some more than that.
This is a video of me big blower to Tesla.
Yeah, we also tested the strength of the paddles. So, we hold kind of mixed feelings toward the end result, and because when we tested it, it didn't stay completely upright. I just saw it kind of swivel around in the anchor, and we found that result kind of unsatisfactory given the time investment, that being tying the knots and digging the hole. On the plus side, though, the paddle did seem to work as intended, because when it was tied to one of the top rings, it did require more force to take out. And we think that a smaller diameter, around 2 inches, maybe would have worked better as opposed to 3, but we just kind of ran out of time to test it. And we also added hooks to the end of the ropes, like you can see here, instead of simply tying it, because we think that that would also like decrease the tediousness of having to tie it around and just simply hook it on. Okay, that's it.
So now they're just going to kind of show you the problem and this final solution, so it won't be the entire process.
All right, so this is our card sorting catastrophe. Our issue is that we don't like sorting Magic the Gathering cards. Magic the Gathering is a card game. And we don't like sorting those cards because when you have a lot of cards, it's annoying to sort thousands of cards. So we wanted something to do it automatically for us. Only issue is we don't have $1,000 to spend on a card sorter, so we designed our own. This one is not fully functional yet. We were missing a couple of parts, and the software side of things is not fully complete. But we have tested everything individually, and all individual components of it work. It has a that's a picture of our final prototype. It has a large wheel where we can store all the cards in, and then it has a card holder on top of it. And then on top of the card holder, there's going to be a camera. There is a camera actually, which will take a picture of the card, scan it, identify the card, and then add it into spin the card holder to the correct hole, and then shoot the card into the hole, and sort cards that way. Yeah. So I am, by the way, I am Sam Paraguay. This is Aiden Elgin, and that is David Simon. Forgot to do that.
Yeah. All right.
Right here.
Great.
This was a hitting industry that I made. I'm Matthew Wade. I was a student athlete. I played baseball, football, and basketball. I'm a STEM completer and part of clubs such as Interact, SGA, FCA, Spanish Art Society, and NHS. And I went to York College and majored in engineering and played baseball. My problem statement was baseball and softball tees will constantly fall over or move forward out of position whenever you miss the ball onto the tee. Sometimes the tee will just move forward when you don't hit the ball. And then this can become a hassle when you're hitting and the tee just keeps falling over. And we're very frustrated for a hitter as well when the tee constantly falls over. That's me prototyping it. It's just you're gluing every component together, and it's the finished product onto the tee. And here's me hitting. As you can see, it moves forward. While you're hitting, you have to readjust it. And then here's me purposely hitting it over so they can see the And after modification, you can see the tee doesn't move forward anymore. And then there's me purposely trying to hit it over. It's not as hard, but you can see how it works better. All right, now us, we
we made a Trans Am fender vent. My name's Will Meyer. I'm a student athlete, extended completer, and I'm attending Florida Southern to major in exercise science to play with girls.
I'm Colby. I'm also a STEM completer, and I'm running my own business after high school.
You got a plug for us?
Oh yeah, if anybody needs any landscaping work, Cam Management, best way to go.
Our problem was most vehicles get fender vents and they heavily contribute to the vehicle. The fender vent keeps the vehicle from building up air pressure in the wheel wells. Without the vents, the heat and pressure may transition into the radiator and problems may be created. The heavier the fender vent, the more weight the car has to hold. So then our chosen solution, we had pros and cons. It was lighter weight, more durable, longer lasting, and greater heat resistance, and our cons were the cost of it. And on the next slide we show, I think, maybe it was just this one that we made was a ½ pound lighter than the original one, and it was more durable.
What was it going to be made out of?
Carbon fiber.
Hello everyone, I'm Jack Rhodes. Didn't have as much as these other guys, but in the fall I'll be attending the School of Business at Kansas University. I'm also in NHS, NAHS, and CTE completed. Alright, so this project had been on the back burner for a while, and this engineering project was the perfect excuse for me to get it done. So I do a lot of artwork, if you could call it that, and one of my go-to mediums is sneakers. And something that has been bothering me over the last couple months, it's been the way I've been storing all my leather paints. So along with my incessant need for organization, this was the basis for my... Alright, so testing. So as you can see on the screen, this is my testing prototype. So this was just a single holder to avoid, cut down in printing time and just to work out all the kinks before making a full-scale model. All right, so at the end, this is what I went with. Pretty much the same design aspects as the original, just obviously able to hold more jars. One of my main priorities for this project was to have it be stackable, so this would cut down in space that would take up on my work bench, and as well to have it be able to be 3D printed so I could produce it myself at relative ease. And this was what I was doing before. I had it just all lazily thrown in a crate, and just for me that was just not working, so I had to think of something else to kind of organize everything and get my space a little bit cleaner.
Alright, hi everyone, my name is McKenna Sweetman, and I plan on attending Delaware Technical Community College in the fall so I can major in civil engineering. So my problem statement was that in 2018, nearly 10 million tons of furniture ended up in the landfill in the US alone. So I had a coffee table I purchased, and after I purchased it, it broke. So I wanted to turn it into something new and throw it away. So I surveyed my friends and family who often come to my house so they know what kind of furniture we have and what we like. And this is the design that we chose. And then here's my final product. I upcycled these legs from a desk that my grandparents had given me. They were going to throw it away as well, so I basically cut it in half and moved the table legs over. This is the top of my coffee table, and then this is actually a part of a pane of an old window.
Hi, my name is Liberty. I'm currently a senior. I plan to take a gap year before going to either study at Towson or Morgan. So I love headphones. You can always see me wearing a set, whether they're wireless or the ones with the wire. So I wanted to create a solution to the fact that I love to move around when I listen to music. So the length of the cord is sometimes too long that it gets caught around like sharp edges, such as if I were to walk around the kitchen, it'll get caught on like the drawer handles and stuff like that. So I created a device where it extends. You can wrap your cord around, push it back in, and it changes the length.
Huh.
I also made it very small, so like it can be unnoticeable, you can carry it around, and it doesn't there also has a clip on it, so you can carry it on your side, or there's a sticker on the front where you can stick it to your phone, like a pop socket, and carry it around.
Does anyone have any questions for any of them?
Did you all use just material, well, I can tell by McKenna, some of the things that you used were like, just recycled materials, but did you guys use any of your technology in the program, your 3D printers, or what did you use?
A lot of use of the 3D printer because it's very easy access, literally less than a room away, and there are 3 of them, so that when it's not completely hogged by a single person at
Gotcha.
a time.
Yeah, so our project, it mainly used the 3D printer, but it also used the Glowforge, a laser cutter, cut out an acrylic piece for the top of the card storage.
Did you code your own scanning device and database for the cards?
Yes.
Awesome.
Very cool. McKenna, was the top of yours from the 3D printer, or was that, no? Okay. I couldn't, it looked like it could be. Yeah. It was the window pane?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no questions, just more of a comment that I hope that you're all successful in taking it forward and, really make out well. Because they're really great ideas, so thank you. Thank you so much for presenting tonight.
We have some more comments.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
I'm just going to give a shout out to Mrs. Paraguay, because I'm pretty sure last year, the oldest one of your sons was here, and I remember saying after his presentation that they were geniuses because I didn't understand a thing they said. So, okay, but congratulations to Team Paraguay. Now the fun's going to start.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the fiscal year '24 superintendent's budget.
So what I would report to the board is nothing has changed from what I presented during the hearing. What we anticipate are the contribution from the county commissioners will be $250,000 above maintenance of effort, which is the allocation that we received, that the county commissioners received from the state, so it was included in the state budget. They will also provide us with $125,000 as required by state law to provide payment for the Blueprint coordinator. As many of you know, we are paying for the Blueprint coordinator out of ESSER funding. So I have some ideas in terms of how we can leverage that additional funding for us. It's not funding that we put into this budget, but it is certainly something that we need to think about in terms of how we can manage to balance our budget. I'm going to go to this part of my presentation because I think that is what will help us the most. We requested 1,681,610, so 1,681,610. When we subtracted what is going to be provided to us by the county commissioners, the only thing we can take away from the 681 is the $250,000. I propose that we use $700,000 in fund balance. And once you take those two numbers in consideration, that leaves us with a remainder of $731,000 that we still have to reduce our budget by or make some decisions with regard to how we move forward. So what I would like to do is to spend some time talking to the board members because we have to approve this budget May 22nd. In speaking with one of the commissioners today, they felt that they would be able to give us firm numbers in a couple weeks, which would be prior to our May 22nd, but I would propose that we move forward with that number as, I mean, if we get additional funding from the county commissioners, then, you know, that's to the good, and we can always put things back in the budget. But I would propose that we make some decisions on how we're going to balance the budget with making reductions of $731,000. So with that, I will open it up for comments, questions, and just some direction from the Board of Ed in terms of what you would like for us to do moving forward with this budget.
Can I ask a question? So the $700,000 taking from fund balance, what will that leave us with?
That will leave us, we have about 2.1.
Okay.
So we take $700,000 off of that.
Okay.
And one of the things that I shared with the county commissioners is by using our fund balance, what I'm trying to be fiscally responsible about is that we're going to have to replace that money in '25. So if we use $700,000, it's not that we're sitting on taxpayer dollars. We're going to have to use that in '25, just flat, just, you know, moving forward, just to balance the budget. And we don't know what other additional, you know, challenges we're going to have in the '25 budget as well. So being fiscally responsible in terms of leaving that amount of money for us to balance in '25 is important.
Well, one thing we do know is we're going to have to hit that $60,000
Yes.
minimum salary for teachers.
Absolutely. So basically, what I would say is even though we're using $700,000, I would say count double that and say we're actually using 1.4. Just to move forward.
And what did you say we had, 2.1?
We have 2.1.
How much, so through our personnel actions of the last two meetings with teachers leaving our system or administrators, whatever it is, positions that are being unfilled, how much, if we don't fill those, what will that save us?
Well, remember, if you go back to this slide, oops, excuse me. We're proposing that we reduce 5.5 teachers.
Okay.
And so most of that will be done through retirements. But we're still going to probably be one teacher short, so we're probably going to have to
Reduction in force?
Yeah, reduction in force, which we will have to, which I would probably bring forward to you at a future board meeting for you to approve.
So-
Once we approve this budget, then we're going to have to make some decisions about reduction in force. I am certain that we're going to have to do a reduction in force in a custodian because we are not going to have a resignation. We believe that we can take care of the instructional assistants through retirements. We may not, so it may also be one reduction in force in instructional assistants. Health services is already taking care of itself. Transportation efficiencies, we still believe that we'll be able to affect some savings there, probably to the tune of about $30,000. Retirements, we're still adding that up. I think because of some of the retirements, that we will take the reduction of 5.5 teachers. It'll probably be more money that we save with the reduction of teachers, but less money that we save in retirements, and I think it'll cancel each other out. The savings in Discovery Education, but we believe that we'll have a savings about $900,000. We'll have a more detailed figure for you, but at this time, we're estimating $900,000. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less. But certainly, it's not going to be $731,000 more. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
So, Dr. Couch, just to kind of start in a different space, there are, on slide 13, there are detailed FY24 budget expenditures, and then on slide 14, there are required budget enhancements.
So let me just butt in for a second and talk about what I would propose we do with the budget enhancements. We have about $112,800 that we're projecting that we have to have for moving forward with our instructional programs in FY24. Since we are receiving money for the Blueprint Coordinator, what I would propose is we make a swap. We're getting that extra total of $150,000 for the Blueprint Coordinator, which would include salary and benefits. I would propose we move Mr. Porter into the local budget. Then that'll save some money in ESSER, and we move all of these program enhancements to ESSER budget. So, because you cannot use, that's the only thing you can use the money for the Blueprint Coordinator is for the Blueprint Coordinator. So if we make that swap, that's $112,000 that I think we can save in this budget.
So we
But
chip,
that only gets us through this budget,
That
because
only
these
gets
are
you-
recurring.
Well, some of them are recurring, like for instance,
Almost
almost all of them are, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, let me see, I thought there was one thing that was not recurring.
Yeah, there's the fine arts
Fine
panels.
Arts Showcase.
Yeah. So, yeah,
so 125 comes off the books, per se.
112, well, excuse me.
125 for the Blueprint Coordinator.
Yeah, but we're not, I would just take that out of the equation. What I would say is we're saving the 112.
Yeah, so the 112 that's saved there then comes right off of the
The
731.
731,
And it takes us to 606.
yeah.
So, remind me how we're able to save the 112.
Because we're paying for Mr. Porter's salary out of ESSER.
Okay, well, that's
So
what we're
we're-
doing right now, right?
We're paying for his salary out of ESSER.
Correct.
So now we're going to receive new monies to pay for his salary,
Yeah, I
which
got
will
that.
come from the commissioners and also from the state.
I got that.
So we move him into the local budget out of ESSER. And
Okay.
then we have a hole in the ESSER budget, and we move
These guys in there?
in there.
Okay,
So
I
it's-
got you.
So it's
Okay.
a good utilization of that extra money that we're getting.
And all of these items can be used in ESSER? They can all be
Yes.
funded in ESSER? Okay.
We'll need to go and do the budget amendment, but I'm pretty sure that can help because it assists with the continuation and learning loss.
Okay.
With ESSER 3, essentially.
Yeah, ESSER 3 is the last of the
Yes.
ESSERs, right?
So-
Okay.
We have one more year for that ends 9/30/2024.
2024. Okay.
So then, just to finish this piece, page 14, there's a plan for this, and we've reduced
By 112.
the need to 606,000. So if we go back to page 13,
Okay, let me go back there.
retirement is there's nothing there.
No, we can't do anything
Right,
about
can't do anything
that.
there. Health insurance, we can't
Nope.
do anything. Retiree health, we can't do anything.
Career counselor is a
Mandated.
requirement. The late bus.
Yeah.
So the late bus is how many students do we have riding?
When I checked a couple weeks ago, we had about 20 students total riding the bus.
And that's 2 buses, correct?
3 buses.
Oh, 3, Shazam.
You can't combine the buses?
No, they're going to 3 different locations. One's going to Rock Hall, one's going to Galena, Millington, and one's going to Chestertown.
So the only option in that would be to get rid of all of them, or?
I mean, yeah.
That's really sad. Because there's a lot of people that want to participate and they can't.
Right, but what I would say is, if there were a lot of people that participated, we didn't see the numbers on the buses. Because what I heard was, when we started in the fall, in the winter, we only had 10 or 12 students riding. And we said, and the conversation was, there were more students that were enrolled in spring sports, so we would see an increase in the kids riding the bus. A significant increase is what we were told.
Okay.
And so we went from 12 to 20.
So it's an average of 7 kids on a bus. That's
Yes.
hard to justify, even though we know that we want to try to do anything we can to.
10,000 a kid is.
I mean, what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, at least, like I said, if we end up getting more money from the commissioners, this could be your number one thing to put back in the budget if that's what you want to do.
Could I ask another question? How many people do you have playing sports, and why is it that that's only the only ones on the bus?
You know, we had that discussion at one of the meetings that we had, and some of the administrators were talking about it. And I think that in a lot of cases, kids are used to having other rides, picking them up, and they're just used to that, and that's what they're doing. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't provide some benefit to our students, and I get it totally. But I think what we have to face with the budget that we're faced with, I just don't know where we go from here.
Do we know if more students use it in Chestertown, or, I mean, if we whittled it down to a single bus to a single destination?
I mean, I think the most that we've seen on a bus is about 10 to 11 kids, so it pretty much, I don't know.
You know, the low number of ridership sort of corresponds with the low number of kids we have playing sports. We got a couple of sports that honestly are on life support in terms of being able to field a program.
They're going to need life support, because the ones that will not be able to use the bus, they're not going to be able to play. I know my son uses it, my
Yeah.
grandson, and without it, my daughter would have to run herself to death, so, and he's played a sport every time, and now he will not be able to play sports, and that's the thing. And on last Friday, did the bus for Chestertown even run, late bus? I don't think it showed up. He was out there walking on the road, and 2 other people had to pick him up.
Mr. Rose?
In my opinion, I wouldn't like to see the buses go, but I understand we're in this budget crisis. I think it's really important, and you mentioned about sports. I was wondering, I know some really good players that failed off the team, whenever the session came through. How can we improve with the coaches talking to the students so they know that they're not doing well? I mean, is there any way we can make that better? The other thing is, how much we're talking, you have 2.1 million at the end of this year. What did you have last year?
In fund balance?
Yeah, in fund
Okay.
balance.
We used $1.8 million in this year's budget.
Just to be able to balance the budget.
Just to be
Yeah.
able to balance the budget, hoping that we would see the requirements coming through with the state and the local, and that did not materialize. At the end of fiscal year 22, we had $2.1 million.
So you had the same,
That's what we have at the end of fiscal year '22.
It didn't grow at
Okay, so
all.
how about 21? I'm trying to find out what it was the year before.
Add $1.8 million to that, because we used 1.8 in current year.
So, in my
3.9.
opinion, I don't want to see anything cut. It looks like this is fluid, because you might have other funding sources come in. Is that true or not?
No, because we are cutting $700,000 because, you know, we believe that we'll have at the end of this fiscal year probably $500,000 to $600,000 in fund balance that could go into '26, could be used for FY '26.
While still
But because-
maintaining our own
Yes.
sort of cushion?
So you
Okay.
can burn through that, too. You can go
No,
down.
well, wait a
Because
second,
we
let me.
can't guarantee that we're going to accrue any fund balance this year. So whatever we
Well,
have.
no,
we
what
have
I'm
to-
saying is we will. We believe that we're going to have about $500,000 to $600,000 in fund balance when we have fiscal year
23.
2023 audited. And so that we can designate that for FY '26. But what I'm saying is, because we automatically reduced our budget by $700,000, just moving forward, what we're saying is, we've now absorbed that into our everyday operation, so we will not have any more cushion left.
So we're already less 700,000,
Yes.
so it's not
Yes.
carrying over to
We're not
this
going to
new
have
budget.
that carryover.
Right.
I mean, we've had a little bit of cushion in the budget, and that's why we've had the ability to accrue fund balance, but because we cut the 700 out just to balance, we're not going to have that money moving forward. As a matter of fact, this budget is going to be so tight that, you know, we may end up having to, you know, tap into the fund balance that we have, whatever it is we have left. So, you know, that's a concern.
So with the 112 you were just talking about, that brings the balance down to around 600,000.
606.
606, that's what I have. So, I just don't want to cut any more from from what they're doing. I don't want to cut the late bus. I mean, it's only, how long have we had the late bus?
We just started it in January.
I mean, I think that's pretty quick to give up on that right away.
We're not giving up on it, we don't have the money for it.
Yeah, well, and so just to add on that as well, just to kind of go into another space, we can parking lot the late bus. So Dr. Couch, if we're at $606,000 that we have to find holes for, and we go to RIF, just rough estimate, is that, I'm talking really rough, and I'm sure there would be, you know, looking at different areas. Are we talking 5 people, 6 people?
Well, depends upon what category you're talking
Yeah.
about. Are you talking about teachers?
Yeah, I mean.
I
the
mean,
point-
basically, if you, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if you say that, then you're saying we're going to bump up class sizes even more.
Yeah.
And if you were to narrow that down into teachers only, then you're probably, I don't know, what is our average, 88,000 for a teacher?
So my point is, is that it's a balance right now.
Right.
Right? So we have to get to somewhere. So if we want to keep this, we've got to affect change
Well,
somewhere else.
the biggest part of our budget is salary.
Is
And
salary.
I hate as much, I agree with Mr. Rhodes that I hate to take anything away from kids, but I certainly don't want to reduce instruction. You know,
So-
that's,
So then my other question
It's
is,
about 7 teachers.
piggybacking on your comment, Ms. McGee, regarding sports, and we have some sports that are on life support. You know, I don't believe that all of the high schools on the shore have teams, every team out there.
correct.
And so with that, one could say that if they're paid coaches or volunteers, okay, that's not a lot, but I would be curious to know what the transportation is associated with the teams or the sports that are not
Running.
pretty much functional.
Fully
I mean,
filled.
they're functional and they're doing
Yeah.
the best they got, and it's all great. But what does that look like if we identify, based on transportation costs and whatever other costs are associated with that, if we reduce, again, I hate the idea of taking away, But, I mean, we have $606,000 that we have to find.
I'm just going off my own experiences, having coached for 30 years here, that I don't know how much we would save in transportation alone, because say, for example, baseball and softball, they travel together. You know, boys basketball, if it, you know, JV and varsity travel together. You know, a year ago when we had a school bus driver shortage and a bus shortage, several different teams were sharing the bus. Let's say the field hockey team was going to Easton. Well, the cross-country team would ride with us to Queen Anne's, and we'd drop them off, and then we'd continue on our route, and then somebody else would bring us back. A couple years ago, we were at Kent Island on a Friday. Kent Island brought us home when they came to pick up their football team at Kent.
But that was all in the moment responses and working for them.
I agree with you. We got to find every, and, you know, there are some sports, and they're all near and dear to my heart, but when you know, I know from my experience of writing about it, you know, we've got, 10 players on a varsity softball team. You need 9 to play, you know. Mr. Rhodes knows from his own experience with his son Jack playing lacrosse, they've got very few substitutes.
2 of them got booted because of grades. That's the one I was trying to.
And 2 more because of injury. One of the things that maybe before eliminating a sport, maybe we should consider eliminating junior varsity, because there are a lot of schools that don't have junior varsity teams, and then at least that allows you to boost up your the numbers on your varsity team. Of course, the trade-off is some of those kids will sit the bench and they won't get any experience, and by the time there's a senior and we need them, they've never played before.
Right.
You know as well, you coach sports, but like, I'm going to refer to the football program. There's a lot of young kids coming up, and when I go out to they have their little meets out at Wharton Park, and they practice, a lot of those kids, they need a junior team to play because they don't want to play with all the big kids. It's really scary for them. But I hear what you're saying, but there's a lot of people coming up in the football program.
But if you
Same with the wrestling program, too. That's another one.
But if you have a JV and then you have the varsity, I mean, you're taking them on the same bus, so cutting one is not eliminating the cost for gas or transportation.
Well, I mean, I can only speak for football. They're not playing on the same nights, not all the time.
Yeah.
So it's very clear, we obviously don't want to take anything away, but we need to have an idea of how to find $606,000.
Right.
So if you take $606,000 out of your fund balance, what will that leave you right now?
That would mean we would be using,
How much will we have left? That's all.
That'd be 1.3 that we'd
Yeah.
be using, because we're already using 700.
and then we would not have 1.3 the year after
Right.
to
cover.
supplement.
So next
So
year
we
we'd
would
have
cover
to
this
double
year,
it.
but then next year,
We're screwed.
we
Yeah,
could come
and-
back and have to cut.
Well, next year,
1.3.
we already know,
Have to cut whatever we put in.
well, we already know that even if we can get through this year, fiscal year 2025 is gonna,
Yeah.
the big
So, but
wave.
Again, how much would be left if we took the 600,000 out? You'd have, how much? And how much of the fund okay, I'd hate to see.
But whatever we take out this year, we have to cover next year.
I understand.
Because we're not getting it back.
And balance the budget.
Yeah.
And the thing is with the Kerwin, that's going to change the whole ballgame, so
Kerwin is state.
I'd hate to see anything cut from the kids program. I know what you want to do, we got to save money, but
Well, it's not what we want to do, it's what we have to do.
would you have to do it this year?
Yes?
Yes.
So if you take out that 600,000, then that's going to put us in jeopardy for next year.
Yes.
It's a guarantee.
Yes.
Yes.
And on top of that, if we cut some of the areas that we're cutting, like they said with the special education, just because they don't have any out-of-district children, the 200,000, but if you happen to get them next year.
Then it's got to come
we
out of
gotta
fund
replace
balance.
it with the fund balance. So that'll put you down to 700,000 or less. If you take all that money. And you never know what else we might have to end up going into the fund balance for. And this is the same fund balance that has to be on reserve for 24, right? And 25.
25.
So I'm pretty sure I probably know the answer to this, but with our community schools, are there any resources that we are including in our budget that could be covered by some of the community school resources?
No, but that is the thought that I'm working with our grant administrator, because essentially the COP funding is unrestricted funds but restricted.
Right.
So it does go into our fund balance, but it's separate from that. So we are trying to see what we can allocate from that regard, more to assist with that. But again, that's only Rock Hall and
Right.
Garnett,
That's really
yeah.
not
And it's not like $100,000. We're
Right.
probably talking,
supply, like needs assessment, things that pertain to needs assessments and.
it might be a total of $20,000. I mean,
And I
we're not
thought,
talking a lot.
at the blueprint presentation that Mr. Porter made to the League of Women Voters, I thought it was Garnett, one of the grants that they have gotten, I guess, for this current year, they're a couple percentage points off or whatever, and they didn't qualify it for next year, so.
That was the per pupil. So
Yeah.
only Rock Hall, when they came back with the updated, I believe it was the tax revenues, because of that wealth calculator, when the state initially came out, we were supposed to be getting per pupil grants for Rock Hall and Garnett.
Mhm.
When they came out with the revised, it only was for
Rock Hall, yeah.
So now we had that, but that per pupil funding is really only for Rock Hall.
Yeah.
So one other question. The high school is underutilized by what, 40%? Or how much is it underutilized right now according to the middle
Okay, on paper, yes, it looks like the high school is underutilized. But if you go into the high school and you look at the classrooms that are allocated for classes, the high school was built for a higher number of students. The issue is, as the class sizes decrease, in other words, at one point in time, we had classes of 27, 28, and 30. As the student population decreases, then some of those class sizes decrease. So on paper, we say, okay, well, the high school was built for 1,500 students, we only have 500 students, so it's underutilized. But the problem is, if we have a class of 10 that are taking an AP course, we still need that classroom, so that classroom is not vacant. So on paper, it looks like we have half the school empty, but if you go, I mean, I guess
I
ask,
understand what you're saying.
ask Braden, I mean, we don't have half the school classes
Yeah.
empty.
And then also, we would need more teachers too to fill that.
Right.
Those positions.
So the
I
question,
just-
I'm so sorry, go ahead.
I just don't really think that would answer a viable option right now from my.
What did you think my option was? What do you mean to?
Well, like, what did you want to do with the classroom?
Well, what I'm
sizes,
suggesting is, I've asked a
underutilization?
couple times, what does it cost to operate this building?
$46,000, I have that information for you.
Oh, thank you, because I never heard, 46,000 a year.
Yes, because I figured we'd talk about it, and that's why I waited until we had this.
That's good, I'm glad you have that number, because
Because what we do is we have electricity, we have water, and we have trash, and we figured all of that, the personnel, people, we still have to have.
Yeah, I understand.
And so we're not saving anything there. This is a low energy usage building because it is, we use.
LEDs?
No, not LEDs. Oh, I can't even think
Solar
of,
panels?
thermo, no.
Geothermal.
Geothermal, gosh, geothermal heating and cooling. This building it utilizes that, so we save a great deal of money on electricity and some of our costs. But yeah, if you're suggesting that we close this building down, we would save $46,000. In order to relocate to Wharton, we have a roof that needs to be replaced. We would have to prepare the classrooms for offices, and
Which would probably cost more than 46,000.
Yes.
I get that. I'm just, how long is this building? Can you move out? Wasn't it set that when the schools consolidated, you had to be in this building for a certain amount of time?
To pay off the
Right.
The loan.
We don't have that information. I've requested that information. That has to come from the IAC.
Gotcha, okay.
And I'm still waiting for them to respond to me. So I don't know what the final, the final debt is for this building.
Thanks for that, getting all that information. I appreciate that.
So the other question I have then is if, and I'm just trying to find cuts in areas, CT.
Well, and part of the thing is, and I missed the budget hearing, but I watched it, and I think one of the things you said, Mr. Getz, and I had said it the month before, is we don't have that one big thing that can
Well-
save us. We're just going to have to chip and chip and chip and chip away.
Yeah, I mean, so just to elaborate, I mean, we don't, in the past, the last two consolidations, one of which I was involved with and the one that I wasn't, we had the ability to cut a school. We don't have that anymore, right? We just don't have
We
that.
closed two. Can you imagine
Yeah.
if we hadn't done that,
I
where
know.
we'd be?
But my question is, where I was going is if we look at programming, is there any opportunity for, because of size and cost, to look at programming, i.e. CTE? Yeah, I mean, any of the other, PE, music, I mean, rather than increasing size across the board for everywhere, are there pockets of places that we can look to look at any type of,
To add CTE, we wouldn't be able to discuss because there's a maintenance of effort requirement that we have to meet. Along with special education and CTE, we have the MOE requirement that we have to do every year.
is that to add or to remove?
That is to essentially add or maintain a certain X amount of dollars, but that we're going back into CTE to meet effort.
So removing,
That would reduce our maintenance of effort, and we would have to provide to the state why. I mean, it would happen, but that's dire need.
yeah, I'm just
Wow,
asking.
we're
what-
in a pretty dire need.
Yeah, I'm just asking what that looks like in it, so it just kind of cyclical, we do this, then we have to come back on the other side.
That comes out on the other end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, we all get it, we don't want to cut anything.
Are there, and I don't love this idea, but are there instructors for specials that we can share across schools as opposed to having dedicated specials teachers for our schools?
I think that's what we were talking about with PE and music. I think right now, Ms. Jacomowitz has asked for the class loads, if you will, for our elementary music and PE to see if there's an opportunity to share there. Of course, if we make some reductions in that area, obviously it would have to be through a RIF because we don't have anybody who's retiring.
Right.
I mean, I don't see that they're underutilized that much, but with cutting additional teachers, there may be some holes there that we can deal with in other ways. So, we'll have to analyze that and come back to you and tell you if that's a possibility. We are looking at that already.
And then, when we put in, and again, I don't love this, but when we put in our security vestibules, we had to have those manned by someone. And so that increased a little bit of our office staff over the last few years, but I don't know if that is something that,
Well, one of the things to keep in mind is that Garnett, that's really impossible because of the setup, the way they have. They were the only ones that had that, the way that the
Little
lobby
side
was,
vestibule,
yeah, they have a
vestibule.
side vestibule and have to have
That would
somebody
work.
who's manning that. So you can't do it, we don't have one at the high school.
I was going to say, the high school, I thought, sort
don't.
of, people,
Yeah.
staff kind of took turns, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
take
They just
turns.
rotate.
The staff, yeah.
The staff takes turns, you can't do it at Garnett. I think one of the
Somebody in Rock
IAs
Hall's office will let you in.
Yeah.
That's our ESER 3IA, and has been
that's what that position is?
filling that role. And,
That's going to go away.
That's a grant-funded job that is
Okay.
Gonna go away.
To expire June 30.
Of next year?
Basketball is not.
Of this year?
The basketball at Garnett is not a full-time.
So when-
That's an hourly, so.
Well, it's 5 hours a day, I think.
So when,
When you're looking at benefits or something,
Yeah.
it's not.
They're not, you would,
It's
okay.
not that, it's
Okay.
not that much.
so when ESSER 3 is gone, it's gone.
It's gone.
So,
That's the.
And how much-
And Maryland leads.
Yay.
We got, yeah, we have a second year for Maryland Leeds, right? Yeah.
So that's a great point, though. Do we have an idea that once existing current grants expire at the end of this year, what's that number?
We don't have that number, so to speak. I mean, if that's, I can tell you it's hefty, but we have talked with the state to let them know our concerns with Maryland Leads. We did meet with them, and I did voice our concerns because Maryland Leads' purpose was above and beyond what we're already doing operational. And I let them know for us to continue, we need that additional funding. So they do hear and know that, but that's
did-
at least that easy path.
But didn't Maryland Leeds sort of, I feel like it allowed us to provide some extras as opposed to just keeping us above water?
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
what we used it for, the extras.
Yeah, I mean, to enhance our, show our support to teachers and stuff.
But the reality is that the state could hear you, and they could still come back and say, no, thank you.
That's right.
And so I guess my question is, if that is a possibility, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's one element to this, right? So,
Including the match.
yeah. So I guess my ask is, if the state were to come back and say, we hear you, we get it, everyone's asking for money, sorry, see you next year, right? I would be curious to know what that number is from the monies that are going away,
Right.
what that number would be. That's like the first element, right? The second piece to that is, because we keep going around talking about, this, with the 112,000, as well as if the late bus were to go, but let's just say if it's not, 606, 536, we're in this space that, I think it would be interesting to know what that would look like. And then it would also be extremely interesting that, if we're looking at $536,000 if the late bus were to go away, and if the average salary for teachers is $88,000, I know there's going to be, that's 6 teachers. And so it's, if we don't want to look at sports, if we don't want to look at some of the other programming that's out there, if we want to maintain that, which I get, and I don't disagree, but then it has to come from somewhere. So I think we just have to understand, again, is there an opportunity where, and I hope it doesn't, because then we're still back to this other piece where we still have just over $500,000 if we were to go those 2 routes, that we still have to find something to cover.
We also absorbed the CAP program this year into our budget.
Well, and we've always budgeted for CAP. We paid an outside contractor and we took it in, and we pretty much even Steven, so it's not really.
It's not
we're
a savings.
We were
really
paying for it
saving.
anyhow.
We
It's
were
just
paying
who was
for it.
operating it.
Yeah, we're operating it now, so.
Has Kerwin had any part of putting us in this situation?
Mandated salaries have.
Okay, because I know you were on Kerwin for a while, you served on there, and you knew all this was coming down the pike, and it's just, I think, the Kerwin's great, the salaries are great, I just don't want to take anything away from the kids. I just can't see that, the sports or anything. I think sports are one of the, I understand, Trish, what you're saying.
No, I'm just trying to come up with a solution. Believe me, I don't want to do it either.
I know you are, but you're a sports fan, I know that, and I just think that's one of the premier things that we have at our high school. Everything's being fixed up out there.
So, Mr. Rose, are you suggesting that we, as an option to RIF 6 teacher positions to reduction in force?
No, I recommend that we take the risk and just pay it off and move on and try every month and see how we can get money coming in.
Right.
That's what I recommend, because if we're in a business.
Where are we coming up, what is
Out of
the
the
risk
fund,
money?
just move on, use the money, leave everything for the student. I just don't want to take anything away from the students, anything.
Well, what's going
We
to...
don't pay, we don't,
So we're gonna go broke, we're gonna
So
go
hold
broke
on, so
when?
just, if I just make a comment. You're either going to take it now, or you're going to take more later.
I hear you.
So,
But we have time to try to raise money somehow.
well, it's not a budget on the installment plan. I mean, it's a budget. I mean, unfortunately, the full year.
Then it's gonna get worse.
It gets worse every year, it seems.
So
Could I say something?
please.
If we do it that way, then basically you're saying that we use it all, and if we close down in year 2025, is it? It's okay.
I'm not saying that.
I mean, I'm just saying that. I'm not saying you're saying it, but that's what, in a sense, I mean, because when we do things, I always say we have to know, not think, because other than that, the children pay the price. So what I'm trying to say is, because we are hoping that a miracle comes, and I think in that case, we better start praying now, in every meeting that we have until then, for a miracle, because only God supplies them.
Lead us in prayer, sister.
But what I'm saying is that if we do that, because everyone here knows how this works, kind of that, we've really been robbing Peter to pay Paul the whole time. So now we have this fund balance that we're not even sure with how it sets right now that it's going to be enough. But if we take over half more, we know for a fact it is just not going to be enough.
We won't be able to make it up.
So if you go on what we have received and how the fund balance bills itself, then we would know that 9 times out of 10, we're not going to have the money when it's due. If we go on what we generally receive from the commissioners and wherever else we get anything, then we know we're not going to have the money. So that's what I'm going on. So I'm saying that, do we do it now, throw all our eggs in one basket, and then come 25, we just don't have any?
Yeah. I mean, to me, again, we have a couple things, right? We're not necessarily sure, I mean, hopefully the commissioners will do something different. We can't bank on that, right? All that we're doing tonight is coming up with a plan that can still change based off of what we don't know yet, right? We're working off of what we know right now, right? And so we have this $731,000 that we have to find. The exercise this evening is to simply state that if we were to start cutting back and say nothing else comes to fruition, what's the plan? And the plan is, I mean, as mentioned, Dr. Couch mentioned $112,000 gets moved, and then there's money moved because of the blueprint coordinator. An option would be to throw the late bus on there, which takes it down to $536,000.
Yeah.
And then to balance, I mean, it would be about $8,000 less than what's needed, but at least the administration would have an idea that in order to make up the difference is a reduction in force, which would equate to about 6 teachers. Or, and along that, as we wait for this process, if Ms. Stewart comes back or we find out that there are absolutely there's certain positions not coming back because of grants, then that rolls in here and we may not have to do any of this.
Okay.
But I don't know that.
Okay, if your question was, I was trying to understand what your question was. If your question was, can we roll some of the local into grants, is that what you're asking?
No. I'm saying that the grants that expire at the end of this school year.
We'll have to roll in.
After, and Ms. Stewart mentioned, we've been talking with the state, I get it. But if the grants that expire at the end of this school year, what is that number?
Because that's an added
Because
expense
Because-
we have to absorb.
Because,
Well, that is if we
If
decide.
we absorb
Yeah.
it, if we don't absorb it, then it has to go away.
Yeah, I know,
that's
but
right.
that's,
And that leaves everything static, that leaves the late bus, that leaves everything else out there that we want to do. We don't have to look at sports, we don't have to look at programming, CTE. Maybe the number's there. I'm not confident that it's there,
It's not.
but I'm saying that maybe 536 or 606, maybe it's 4.
I will say for Maryland League, because I can't speak to that, there is about $700,000 that we would essentially need to match in 25 and 26. That was part of the agreement. So that's all salaries. So that's the HR specialist, the woman that we hired, and the 3 instructional coaches. So we agreed half that matches in ESSER 3, which is the benefit for the healthcare and the retention stipend that we've been given. The other half was those salaries. So that's something that, if you're looking for salary for that, yes, ESSER 3, we have not, we talked about, and I believe some have been able to move in mobile or be like a swap, but Maryland Leads is pretty much the one where we have to kind of find something now.
Or we reduce the Maryland Leads amount that we have.
Which is going to put,
So-
it's going to put some employees in a bind, because a lot of the big ticket items in Maryland Leads tend to our science of reading, which is the improvement of our students.
Well,
like the
but
SSCs.
I mean, I'm going to throw something out that, I'm just going to throw it out there. We pay for YMCA and we pay for retention. I mean, what if we pull that back and say we're not going to do that?
We're not going to do.
But that's coming
in the stipend, the $700, the $1,400 stipend, then you may have people leave because we're not going to give raises due to that. That's kind of the other incentive to help retain our employees. So if we say we're taking away that, and then we're like, oh, we're cutting down the budget, that may be a adverse effect.
Well, I understand that, but if that's going to prevent us from having to match in '25,
I thought Leeds grant was just 2 years.
it is.
It is,
Okay.
But to get, in order for us to get that 6.5 million, well.
What was that number? Because remember, it was, ended up being 8, didn't it?
Yes, it was 8 million. So 1.5 of that we had to match in order to get the 6.5.
Right.
So if we are not able to match that piece now, from my experience, not able to match, then you take away from, that's the amount you have to take away from the grant.
That's what I mean.
But we haven't really gotten to that piece.
So,
But
Dr.
if
Cat,
you take away from the grant, that's gonna shut down a lot of, that's gonna, I mean, largely, it's just gonna largely, because everything with Maryland Leads also pertains to kind of the blueprint getting there. Like having more incentive, one of the big ticket items is now teachers or even support personnel are going back to school because we now are using Maryland Leads to help pay for their college tuition. If that happens, we cut back, they're not gonna go to school, then we're not gonna have.
Well, I'm not proposing that we would cut that, but I'm saying there are some things that we might need to look at in terms of what we take away.
Mr. Rhodes.
Dr. Katz, did you have a friend at the governor's office or someone like that you spoke of someone you know? Or maybe
Mr.
some
Mr. Lukey.
Okay, so I know that the governor's coming here in about 3 or 4 weeks. Is there any way we could get together and just send out a letter? We'd like to meet with them. Maybe it would work, just say we're a school system, we need help, we want to talk to you. Just a thought.
The governor's coming here with his cabinet. I've already met with one of his cabinet members, Secretary Grady. I think the county commissioners have a full day with them planned. I don't think we play into that picture.
Well, we should. I mean, this is one of the most important, our school system is extremely important, and I know the governor is really behind education. But I hear you saying the commissioners want to take up the whole day. I mean, we should have a say. That's all I'm saying.
And the county commissioners, being one of our funding sources, can actually advocate for us.
Yeah.
Will it?
We can try. I'm just saying.
Sorry, that came out.
Well,
like, genuinely, do you think they will if we ask for a letter? Or if we write a letter saying that it's just a possibility? Because I think Mr. Rhodes has a point where we're at this point, we might as well just send out a little cry for help from, at this point. in my opinion.
So I have spoken with Commissioner Fithian about the day that's planned for the governor and his cabinet. They are going to, it's not a public meeting, it is a closed meeting. And they're just going around the state with their cabinet meetings. So I'm not finally sure where they're going to meet or what day it is or what the time is. And then I know that Commissioner Fithian is taking a group of them to tour certain areas. Commissioner Nickerson's doing the same thing, and Commissioner Price is. And that's kind of what their day is set up. I know that Commissioner Fithian said that he would emphasize the fact that, that they committed to starting a work group to look at what is affecting Kent County.
Who's the they?
They meaning the governor's office
Okay.
and Secretary Grady.
Okay.
And then I forwarded an email to all of you where I questioned, when are we going to start the work group? What's going to happen? And the response was, do not worry, you're on the radar, we've got this. So that's what I was told.
I hear you. It'd just be great if they're carving out all that time for the commissioners. We're the biggest employer in the whole county. We should have at least a half an hour with them, just a little time to present our case. And that's my opinion. It'd be nice if we could all send a letter and just try it. Just a thought.
I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can
That-
always say.
That won't help us this year, though.
No,
Yeah.
and they can always say no, but I don't want to give anybody the out by saying, well, you never even asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're back to where we were.
Do we give the $1,400 incentive to every,
Yes, because with ESSER 3, the first round,
But I thought they got the 700.
everyone got 700, and it was full-time and part-time in ground leave. But it was only full-time with ESSER 3. The first round, we only did 1,000, which was 500, but that was only for full-time employees.
okay.
So
Could we, since we are doing a salary increase, could we do a slight reduction in the incentive?
So, some of these incentives include wages, which are subjects of
Okay.
collective bargaining, which are agreed upon through an MOU, so that would require to go back down to the table.
Okay.
Does that include the YMCA?
Yes. Any financial,
Well, and I would just go back and say, what you brought up, Ms. McGee, that our negotiated salaries
Yeah,
are
yeah.
subject to
Yeah.
available money. So, one way or the other, it may be we have to go back to the table anyways.
Okay, so the hope is that we do, that we do receive some additional funding from the county commissioners. But knowing what we know today, we're still in the hole, $731,000.
600.
536, if we
Let me
take
finish.
out light bus.
Let me-
Down to 300.
Let me finish. So we go the 112 down the 70, we're at 536.
Right.
We need a plan for the 536 just in case. And be mindful that, yes, things can change between now and the 22nd based on numbers that we get, et cetera.
Well, I can guarantee we're not going to get 536 from the county commissioners.
Yeah, I've been listening, matter of fact, I was just getting caught up today on the budget hearings from last week, and the word they've used is pause. They've got 7 positions that have been unfilled, and they've managed to get through without those, so they're giving serious consideration to not filling those. So they, I thought the figure they threw out was their $3 million, they've got to figure out a way to
They've got to
cut too.
Well, and that 3 million is a combination of raises for their employees and new requests from agencies and departments.
Okay.
So because we're not moving forward in any type of decision, are we saying that the remaining $536,000 would be handled through RIF?
Through what?
Through the reduction in force.
What percentage of this 30,780,000 would it take to split into all these sections? Would it be 2% out of each one? We could just say take 2%. What would 2%? That would be about 600,000.
Are you asking to remove 2%?
Of each item, just we have to go down line by line, so not one item gets hurt. I don't want to take anything away. I'm just thinking of some idea to.
I don't think we're able to do that when we have restricted funds. I mean,
Okay. Just thought I'd bring it
Yeah.
up as an idea.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you.
I hear you too.
But that's, yeah.
I was just trying to make it easy to cut.
I wish it was that, I wish
It's
it was
not
that easy.
No, yeah.
Well, and because now the money's come to us again as restricted dollars, and we have to use it for that purpose. Prior to the blueprint, we had the luxury of saying, here's a big pot of money, we can cut this, and it's not that easy anymore.
Gosh, if it's like this now, what's it going to be like in 2 or 3 years? It's scary.
I know Mr. Getz is trying to get us back on track.
It's just, I.
No,
just
you're
wanna-
right,
I just want
because
to get us to a point where we could spend the next 8 hours,
Yeah.
Hovering, but we're.
I think to just sort of support what Dr. Couch has said and what you're saying also is that whatever the figure is, whether it's 606, whether it's 700, whether it's 536, we can't rely on anybody but ourselves. And to be fiscally responsible while also it's going to tear at our hearts to have to do it, I think we have to do it anticipating the cavalry's not coming. So then we can be pleasantly surprised and slowly fold some things back in. But I think it's not realistic and just not responsible to just say, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and, we'll wake up and we'll be praying every day over here. And that 536 is going to show up by May 22nd. I just don't think that's going to happen.
It's not.
Yeah.
So Trish, do you have an idea of something that we can cut out of this?
No, I mean, what Joe said, really the only thing that really will make a significant difference is unfortunately the thing that makes the significant difference, which is instruction.
Right.
Unless, which we don't want to do either, is take away extras from our students, which is one of the things that is so important to public education. It's being able to provide more than just what happens in the classroom, but we're going to have to prioritize. That's the unfortunate thing, and I don't know if anything's kind of safe at this point.
Ray, do you have a solution?
It's a big question for me to answer, but I'm just kind of looking over this, and I don't really have I don't have a solution for this year. I'm not really sure what's going to be able to happen, but I think we do need to start pleading our case to the state or someone because this is only going to continue.
Yes.
From years on years, and I'll be gone from this position, but I'm still going to be keeping up with it, and it's.
But you got 2 younger brothers.
Yeah. Well, I have 4 other siblings in the
Oh,
school
okay.
system.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's.
Right,
Yeah. We don't
and
start.
I will say that we are pleading our case.
Yeah.
I think that the additional $250,000 above MOE that the commissioners are giving to us came from the state, with the understanding, if you listen to the post-legislative breakfast that happened last week, the delegation, 36, District 36 delegation said that was with the understanding that the commissioners would make some changes with taxes and also with growth within the community. And you heard at the last meeting that I was at, Commissioner Fithian made a comment that the no growth philosophy of the community and the county is kind of catching up with us right now because we're seeing flat revenues within the county. So, I mean, all of that's going to take time, but.
And that hasn't changed. That movement is still very vocal.
Yeah, so if I could just add comments about the advocating, so because the legislative session is done, completed, certainly what we have is what we have. We're working on what we know today. Moving past that, when we start, the goal is to continue the workshop idea and working with the state. Obviously, we work with the county commissioners. We work at it from a state level. And we continue to advocate, not just reacting to the legislative session, but being proactive. So I agree 100%. So we're going to have to be proactive, and we're going to have to speak louder than others, and go from there. But again, this right now is here.
Is our reality.
You know? But I agree 100%. It's not going to be, well, let's just wait until, April of next year, after all of these folks put these bills in, and it gets kind of holes blown through all the bills. Maybe something great will happen. I don't know. But if we advocate like we plan on doing, then we'll definitely be a little bit more proactive.
Well, and I feel like we advocate every year to the state, and sometimes we got some money from Hogan a few years back, but he said that, this is it. We have often advocated without really altering any.
Well, I thought Governor Moore put 500 million more into education, but our portion of it was
So we just have to
tiny.
keep doing it.
Yeah.
And we just have to keep advocating for Kent County.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
So.
Yes.
Okay.
And, yeah, so that's.
So can we send individual letters, or we have to do it as a group? You're sending a letter, but can we advocate to these politicians?
To the commissioners, you mean?
No, to the governor or anyone, or is that?
Absolutely.
I'm just saying that we all should really work hard to get the state to recognize where we are and what we're doing.
Well,
I think the student, I know you're doing that, Dr. Couch, but we got to work harder.
I will tell you, I was on a Zoom call for 6.5 hours to testify, so, and we'll continue to do what we have to do, but there's a lot of work that has to be done, and there's process in order to do this, and that's what we'll do, so, I agree. And next time around, I think everyone should participate and continue to do that, because those are the avenues to be able to support when people actually see it and pay attention, so. Okay, so just to close this down as we go, because we do have a pretty decent amount. As of this moment, without knowing the final, and not voting, but just directionally, taking the 731 down to 606 with the 112 coverage, taking the $70,000 down for the late bus, are we, not hearing any other compelling answer, it feels like reduction in force. And I say all this with the caveat that if something changes, then it's different. But right now, tonight, in the exercise, is that where we are?
Could I ask one more question?
Please.
As far as the lake bus is concerned, what would a person have to do if they wanted to volunteer and just take the kids to one direction, like the ones for Chestertown? Maybe a couple of other people could volunteer to take the ones back to Galena. Would there be, and there may not be, but for some, would there be like a grant they could apply for if they were trying to do that, just to help out? It wouldn't be with the school so much, but could they give direction to them? Because I have a 15-passenger van that I fix
Right.
up rather.
Liability would be your biggest.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. Could you get the parents to sign?
It's not like it used to be. People would say, hey, we take the kids home 20 years ago, and you can't do that now.
Yeah.
With parents' consent?
Well, I think what you do on your own personal level is something that you do with other parents, but in the name of the school system,
No,
I
not in the
would,
name of the
yeah.
school system. I was just wondering if the school system could give direction on what they, and where they would need to go in order to do it, to make it right.
Yeah.
So back to Mr. Getz's question. So do I understand that to make up whatever the 700, 606, 536, whatever it is, the reduction force would equal 6 teachers? That's on top of the 5.5 that are going to go through, fingers crossed, attrition. I'm curious, so that's 11 and a half teachers and maybe a couple instructional assistants, but what does 11 and a half teachers represent percentage-wise of our total workforce?
Well, you could figure, what, it's two teachers per school?
Two teachers?
So figure, that's a classroom down per
Yeah,
school.
well, that's the other
essentially.
thing. That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
But it's got to be equitable. We can't make one school absorb the biggest hit.
Well, but we also have to make sure that class sizes are.
I know.
So if we're just talking about teachers in the classroom,
Mhm.
not other certificated staff, like social workers,
Right,
speech,
yeah,
OT,
yeah.
we're at 170.
That's what our, okay.
I would also ask that the administration also look at combinations of, we know the number. So, is it just teachers? What else does it look like? So I would leave that up to the professionals.
Right. Just to let you know, we don't have a lot of instructional assistants. I mean, one budget cycle, we used to have an instructional assistant in every kindergarten classroom, and then we cut it down to just one per school. And we've got another requirement of students that are not potty trained, and we have to be able to provide resources to the classroom teacher so that would be really difficult to cut that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Are there any other questions, comments?
I think this is the way that it seems that we have to go, but to the point of if monies do show up, that I hope that we would start refilling positions before we
Yeah,
did anything else.
that's the priority.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah. The last to go would be the first to put back.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the biggest cut we're making now is this last cut.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay, the next item is reports. Kent County Teachers Association?
Nope.
Nope. Board discussion, Mr. Wallace.
All right, so we got a lot of events because
Lot.
school year's ending. So for Galena Elementary School, the Thursday, May 11th at 5:30 PM will be the Arts in the Garden. Friday, May 19th will be Field Day, and Friday, May 26th will be the Sneaker Creeper. For Kent County High School, Wednesday, May 10th at 8:30 AM, the AAEEBB field trip will Go Ape Zipline Adventure Park, which sounds fun. Thursday, May 11th at 6 PM, it'll be KCHS CTE Awards Night in the auditorium. Saturday, May 13th, there will be the KCHS Senior and Junior Prom. Monday, May 15th at 8:30 AM will be 8th grade Transition Day, Day 1. And then, Day 1 and 2. And then Monday, Friday 15th at 6 PM will be the KCHS National Honor Society induction. Thursday, May 16th, Next Generation Awards Night at Washington College. Wednesday, May 17th, 6:30 PM, KCHS National Art Honor Society induction. Thursday, May 8th, 6 PM, KCHS Senior Awards Night. Friday, May 19th, 9:30 AM, 8th grade Transition Day 2. Friday, May 19th, Senior Trip to Six Flags. Monday and Tuesday, May 26th and 23rd will be the senior final exams. Tuesday, May 23rd at 4 PM will be KCHS Visual Arts NAHS Poppies for Peace ceremony in Chestertown. Wednesday, May 24th at 8 AM will be the Senior Funny Awards, Spring Madness, and Last Day for Seniors. Wednesday, May 24th will also be the KCHS AAEEBB Family Engagement Night. Saturday, May 27th will be the KCHS Brigade of Blue in Chestertown Tea Party Parade. Wednesday, May 31st, 8 AM to noon will be graduation practice. And also on that day will be fan night at 5:30 PM and senior sunset. Thursday, June 1st, 8 AM to noon will be graduation practice. Thursday, the 1st, will also be the senior picnic in Wharton Park. Friday, June 2nd at 9:30 a.m. will be the KCHS 2023 graduation. Senior arrive at 8 a.m. Tuesday, June 5th at 6 p.m. will be the KCHS Rising Senior Night. And Wednesday, June 7th at 6 p.m. will be KCHS Rising Freshman Night. And that is all I have.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's getting tripped up in my words. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Ms. Dorsey?
Yes, I would like to take this time to, I had went on a trip with the EEBB into the King County Middle School, because I volunteer with them, and we went to Baltimore. So I would like to give thanks to everyone who has given their time to help our young men at King County Middle School as well as King County High School, proving that when we put our time and invest in helping our students and truly seeing them deal with them as an individual, the result can be great, which gives our students the opportunity for greatness. It's easy to point fingers and to place blame and then set back. It's better to invest our time and witness the change. I want to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. So I just wanted to give that thanks to Tyree Johnson and the others that's over at the middle school, also Paul too, Courtney Miller, and there's probably others that have volunteered their time and helped out. So I just wanted to point that out, because no matter, a lot of times what we see in our students, but if we really, really invest our time, which we may have another perspective on life that they have never seen from someone else, it can help to change them. We don't have to just kind of like give the hammer and act like this is who they are. They actually had brought them, suits and dressed them up, and I'm gonna tell you, they were well behaved the whole entire trip. And I think they seen themselves as someone else, and they acted with much respect on the way and back. So I just want to thank them for that.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. McGee?
We've got a lot of things coming up, and we have a lot of things that just happened in a very short period of time. I just wrote some things down. The Character Counts essay contest, the Mr. Porter did an amazing job, the League of Women Voters, for his blueprint presentation. Elizabeth Prophet and the Family Support Resource Center at Kent County Middle School, the art showcase at the high school. I happened to be at Garnett the day the artist was there that had put the butterfly sculpture, which was amazing. She's from Africa. She has one sculpture in the entire United States, and it happens to be at Garnett. And those kids were very, there's no filter when you're in kindergarten. And let me tell you what, they asked great questions, and they seemed really inquisitive, and she was really happy. And Ms. Sullivan, Ms. Dorsey, and myself were the ice cream scoopers at the ice cream social for 500 kids at Kent County Middle School 10 days ago. And I will acknowledge that there are a lot of challenges in our school system. That particular day, I thought all the kids were well behaved, and my experience has been there's two times when kids are going to misbehave. One's in the hallway, changing classes, the other's in the lunchroom, and I did not see one single misstep during that. I want to say, in response to some comments that were made last month, that I support Kent County Public School as an entity. I don't think you can paint the entire school system with the same brush. I support our staff, I support our students, and I believe in building up instead of tearing down. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Rhodes?
I'll keep my comments short this time. First of all, Dr. Couch, I want to thank you for working and helping getting the middle school straight. I think I've heard things are turning around. I also want a special thanks to Joe Wheeler for his work that he has done out there. Paul too, Courtney, this you mentioned, and Tyree. I know all those folks, and I know they're working really hard with the kids. I want to say that I attended the wrestling banquet last week at the fire hall here, and it was 50 years of wrestling. And it was just a wonderful event. Mr. Zottarelli was there. So many kids were there, and we have like a lot of young kids. I'm talking like little ones that are in the wrestling team. They're going to be coming up, and I just hope that we can really focus on that program at the high school because it's just great. And Mr. Unikis, Chris Unikis, is doing a wonderful job, and Mr. Zottarelli, he started that program like 50 years ago, so that was a lot of fun. Second, or the third thing I want to say is that congratulations to our varsity lacrosse team. They won over Bow Manor last week, and now we go to the playoffs up in Northeast on Wednesday from 6, or the game starts at 5, so I'm really looking for that. And go Trojans. So it'll be fun. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Ms. Sullivan?
I wanted to say congratulations and thank you again to the Rock Hall tutors who were all here this evening. And I have had the benefit of seeing them at the end of their sessions the last 2 years. And absolutely, they have relationships with those kids and they love each other. And it's apparent in how the kids are doing with their scores, but also it's clear that they have a respect and love for one another. So that was nice that they got that extra recognition tonight. Thank you. The April Citizens Advisory Committee meeting was rescheduled, so the next meeting is going to be May 16th. On April 19th, I went to the Brigade of Blue send-off concert, and our kids went to Atlanta to compete. And 4 of the 5 Maestro Awards for soloists that were given out at that competition were given to Kent County High School students. And the Brigade of Blue came in 2nd place overall, so I want to congratulate them on their hard work and thank our music teachers, band boosters, and parents who were all involved. Because of that, I was unable to attend the Blueprint presentation, but I heard that it was well attended, and I want to thank Mr. Porter for developing a thorough presentation and always interacting with our community in a positive way and making sure that he is transparent with what is going on with KCPS and the Blueprint. On Earth Day, I joined Mr. Miller, Ms. McGinnis, and a group of middle school students for an Earth Day activity at Camp Taqua in Wharton, and I want to thank the camp director there, Liz King, and the staff for welcoming us. We spent the day on the beach doing beach cleanup, and it was a beautiful day. The KCMS Trojans PTA is looking for volunteers for some upcoming 8th grade events. Please visit the KCMS Trojans PTA page or email kcmstrojans.pta@gmail.com to see how you can get involved. On the 26th, I also attended the Community Resource Fair held at Kent County Middle School. It was open to all families in Kent County and provided information on local services and resources. And I want to thank all the organizations who participated, and Beth Profit, Flo Terrell, and the KCPS staff for organizing this annual event. On the 27th, I went to the art showcase also, and it was lovely to see all schools represented in the impromptu gallery that's hung in the high school auditorium. So I hope everyone was able to attend. And as Trish mentioned, I wanted to thank Trish and Aretha for originally agreeing to be judges for the talent show that was going to be held at the middle school. And when we didn't have enough kids sign up, we had to switch gears, but we already had the DJ on call, so DJ Real came and provided music, and the kids sang and danced during lunch and ate ice cream, and we scooped out ice cream that was solid as a rock.
Yeah.
So everyone had a great time, and the kids were all very excited and very well behaved. We got to preview all of the SMOB submissions for next school year, and I really enjoyed listening to all their speeches. I want to thank all of the applicants, Grace Lindsay, Madison Messick, Jessica Rosanova, Aryan Sharma, and Alicia Williams. And then I'd like to also congratulate Maddie again. She's been a valuable asset to the Citizens Advisory Committee. We'll miss her, but it'll be nice to sit next to you up here as well. This week, I'll be attending with a number of board members and KCPS staff the Racial Equity Institute training. And on May 15th, I'm attending the MABE New Laws training session, which I think is important for all of us because there's a lot of legislation that passed this year that's going to affect us and policies. So I encourage any board members, if you haven't signed up, to sign up for that. It's never too late to join the PTA. Our schools need you. Please join the PTA. And finally, happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I support and appreciate all that our teachers are doing for our kids. There are many teacher appreciation activities planned this week. Parents, please check with your school and see what you can do to show your support and appreciation, and I thank you. I remembered that we were going to also mention the Ethics Committee opening.
No, we'll do it when we get.
We'll do it again, okay. That's it, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Just a few updates on my side. Thank you to all of the staff and folks, administrators that attended the Kent County Public School Job Fair. It was great. I hope that it yields fruitful hires as it has in the past, but just really appreciate that event and folks spending time doing that. It's a really cool thing to do, and next time I won't have breakfast, I'll have a donut, so thank you for that. Wanted to also just put out there that the budget process is just what it is. It's a process. And until we get final numbers, we have to work through this. We are bound by law. But I hope that if there are others listening that have the ability for a funding source, that they understand where we are. And that could be from here to the President of the United States, whoever it is. I just hope that everyone understands the situation that we're in, and we're charged to do our jobs by balancing the budget by law. And certainly, we will continue, whatever this looks like, we will continue to advocate. We have a pretty good track record this last legislative session, and as I mentioned earlier, I would absolutely encourage not only all the board members, but administrators, teachers, and staff as well, because everyone's voice matters in little old Kent County. I want to also, First Friday, really kind of had a very kind of mixed emotion. As most of you know, as Mr. Rhodes also has 2 children that are graduating, I also have a son graduating, so it was kind of wild to be that parent that is at First Friday when the senior pictures are hanging in the window. But I would like to thank Mr. Wallace for being, although we were kind of lost most of the night, he did join our little posse, and it was really nice to have you and spend time with you there, helping guide us. And quite frankly, I didn't feel like I was the only one that had zero directional sense, so thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I will just say also, Maddie, welcome. I believe we already have your nameplate being printed.
Yes.
But just know it's valuable what you bring. It's valuable what Mr. Wallace has brought and other SMOPs, and certainly we are very grateful that you'll be joining us up here on the dais. So welcome. Got a little more business to do with making sure Mr. Wallace gets sent off okay, but welcome to the Public School Board of Education Board. Okay, thanks everyone. I really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move into administrative services. Ms. Stewart.
Good evening, President Getz, Dr. Couch, members of the board. Tonight, I will be presenting to you our monthly financial report. This is from July 1 to August 30th of 2023. So for Fund 1, starting with our revenues, we have received about $31.7 million. With our school construction, that's about $5.1 million that we've received, and food service, $1.5 million, to receive a total of cash receipts, $38,409,849.45. As we go into our current expense fund, to date, you will notice that we have expended about 94% of our funding. For current expense, we go to our school construction. Pretty much this slide is really for the purposes of what our progress is for school construction and what we have been going on so far. And then we have our food service fund. We've expended about 95% of that funding. And then our grants. And that is a reimbursable project, so we have to spend the money up front to receive. So to date, we've expended about $6.2 million with our grant funding. And then the last slide just pretty much gives you an overview of our revenue and expenses. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Stewart? Thank you, Ms. Stewart. That was for information purposes only, no action required. Appreciate that. The next item on the agenda is food service CN discretionary grants limited availability.
All right, so for this one, administration is seeking approval from the board for this grant. It is the CN Discretionary Grants Limited Availability Grant. However, it's also known as the 2022 Equipment Assistance Grant. As we presented, I believe it was about a couple of months ago, we presented to the board pretty much an overview of our school construction and our food service. According to the state, there is the fund balance that we have. We do have to have a plan for spend down, so we did present to you as a board what that spend down was. Part of that will assist is receiving this grant. This grant amount was awarded for $85,520, and the grant period is from July 1, 2022 through September 30 of 2024. We did, in this grant, we have put for Rock Hall, $47,600 for a walk-in cooler and freezer. I believe that is our currently, well, at the time, currently that was our only school that needed a walk-in cooler and freezer. And now we're learning that possibly Garnett and the warehouse may need to be looked at to, receive more assistance with that, because our walk-ins are very important when it comes to storing our food. Kent County Middle School, that is about $29,540 to purchase a combi oven. The high school is to get a Ranger oven, which is about $4,480, and then an ice maker for $3,900. So all of that goes up to the $85,520. Now, we do have, I would like to mention, we do have that fund balance in food service where I had to provide to the state what our plans are. So if it just means that we need to switch and kind of put more of because we're learning with Rock Hall, it's going to have to be not just replacing the cooler, but other things like plumbing and electrical and situations. So we may have to move monies around, but essentially we have it. But according to the state, we can't have the huge amount that we have. So we're trying to stay on track of that to replace equipment and things like that, and this will also help us. So we are requesting board approval for the CN Discretionary Grants Limited Availability Grant.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. This is an action item. The administration is requesting board approval of the CN Discretionary Grants Limited Availability Grant. Do we have a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is the current equipment that we have still functional?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But I believe Rock Hall is the only school now that does not have one. All of our schools do, but we just learned that when it comes to Garnett and the warehouse, it may be a thing where we just have to go in to look at it, but I believe Garnett is pretty much on its last leg.
Gotcha. So the equipment that is replaced, do we have a plan to use it elsewhere or to sell it or donate it?
No, because most of the equipment that we have in our food service area is pretty much run down. It's like years of
Yes, of food servicing.
Yes. I hear you. So that's why in our plan, it is to try to, one of the ways to spend down the fund balance that we said is to get the air conditioning system in the kitchens before we even get new equipment, because that helps with the longevity of the equipment and the sustainability of it.
Okay, thank you.
Did we have to provide any matching grant?
No.
Okay.
No. It's just when it comes to food service, they really only want you to keep a balance of about 3 to 6 months worth of your expenditure. And if we have that high balance, we have to provide like a timeline, and we do, and this is in our timeline, so that we're most likely will probably have to do a budget amendment with this, because some of this we can now put in our fund balance, but mainly this was to help with the Rock Hall walk-in.
Okay, this is an action item. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have the motion by Ms. Sullivan. We have a second by Ms. Dorsey.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions?
Did we vote?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
Okay.
calling for any additional
right.
comments. Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Procedure 100-18, Leaves and Other Absences.
Thank you, President Getz, school board members. Dr. Couch, I am here to just present a brief update to Personnel Procedure 100-18. As you can see on your screens, we are adding in a section on professional leave. This is something that employees are entitled to, but has not been outlined in our procedures. What we are adding, is one thing that has been very common here, and that is just to allow, with approval, for an employee to attend a district or school mandated out-of-county training. In addition, something that is new, with prior approval from, there's a little typo there, from the staff member's immediate supervisor, a certificated staff member may use professional leave to complete a praxis exam or national board certification exam or any assessment that is required or expected based on the conditions of the individual's employment. As of the recent past, Chesapeake College has been named an approved testing center. So more testing appointments have been made available to our staff, some of which are during the day. The biggest area of impact, that has come to light is our national board cohort, who have to take an assessment for their component 1 and need to do it at a test center.
Okay.
The portion that's crossed off, the Maryland Healthy Working
yep.
Families, is that being rolled into a new?
So, yes, thank you for pointing that out. If you recall, earlier this year, we brought forth a brand-new procedure that is much more detailed and outlined in accordance with the regulations from the Department of Labor. So the Maryland Healthy Working Families Act has its own procedure that we brought forward, I believe, around the winter time.
Great, thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, this item was for information only. Mr. Hushin, we'll see you again next month.
That sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Citizen Advisory Committee applications.
Thank you, Mr. Getz, President Getz, members of the board. We had 13 applications total for filling out the Citizens Advisory Committee. The board met about this in closed session, and the following individuals have been named to the, or brought forward as recommendations to serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee with board approval. The first would be for the student member of the Citizens Advisory Committee, Benjamin Lawler. Linda Reed would be the community at large. Kaylin Avery Stout would be the teacher for Kent County High School. Rosemary Ramsey Granillo would be the parent from Garnett. Julie Blyman would be the parent from Galena. Terry Mulligan would be the retired teacher grandparent from Rock Hall. And Mike Eisman would be the teacher from Kent County Middle School.
Okay, this is an action item. The administration is recommending a motion to accept the new CAC members as stated.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Sullivan has the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McGee has the second. Any comments, questions?
I just want to thank all the applicants. We were very low in numbers at first, and so we extended and everybody came through. So thank you to everyone who submitted an application.
Okay, we have the motion. We have a second. We'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Mr. Wallace?
I vote yes.
The motion passes as presented. Thank you.
Dr. Couch, will someone notify them?
Yes, we will.
Okay.
We will make it a point to do that.
And they'll start in July, right? Starting July 1st is their term? Okay.
Okay.
I also just want to say, for the people who are going off the committee, like Dr. Fluke, I want to thank you very much for serving.
And Madison.
Oh, and Maddie, sorry. You're going to be with us for a while. So, I just want to say thank you for kind of being the guinea pig, the test. You know, this was our first full-fledged thing, and I want to say that both of you brought a really important viewpoint, and you contributed, and you were very valued members of the committee.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you
And we'll
both.
see you in a week.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, the next item is the ethics panel appointment.
I just want to make an announcement that we did have a resignation from one of our ethics panel members. And so we do have a vacancy on the ethics panel, and we would like to open up applications to be submitted to I think the applications get submitted to Gail Manley. You can find the applications online. You go to the board members part of the page, and applications can be found there. We would ask that the applications be submitted by May the 20th, and with hopes of appointing someone on May the 22nd when we have our next quarterly meeting of the board.
I'm on the website page now, and the application itself is not on there. If we could add that to the page.
Should be.
It has the policy, the Q&A, and the complaint form, but it doesn't
Okay.
have the application.
Yeah, we'll make sure. My computer just died.
Oh, okay.
So I can't check. So we'll make sure that that's there tomorrow.
Great, thank
Okay.
you.
The next item on the agenda is public participation. Ms. Gale? Okay. Moving on to number 10, notification of next meeting. The next meeting of the Board of Education of Kent County will be a work session on May 22nd, 2023, beginning at 5 p.m. The next regularly scheduled monthly meeting will be held on Monday, June 12th, 2023, beginning at 5:30 p.m. Open session will be immediately followed by the board members going into closed session. The open session will resume at 6:30 p.m. Both meetings will be located at the administrative building in the boardroom, this room, located at 5608 Boundary Avenue, Rock Hall, Maryland, 21661. The last item on the agenda is to adjourn. The administration is recommending approval to adjourn this meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I just want to say a reminder that the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting is May 16th at 5:30. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
And I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Sullivan has the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I think I heard Ms. McGee with the second. Mr. Wallace? Would you like to stay? Did you say yes?
We haven't voted. You haven't voted yet.
Sorry. Budget head, sorry about that. Okay, so no comments, so we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote yes as